There is a river that lives in your imagination, wide, restless, and endless in its current. You stand on its edge every day staring at the far shore as though all that you want, peace, freedom, meaning, exists only there. You whisper to yourself, if I can just get across, then I will be whole. If I can just cross, then I will finally arrive. And so your life becomes a story about preparation. You build mental rafts, you measure the strength of the current, you rehearse strategies for swimming. Yet in all of this frantic planning, you remain stuck on the same bank, convinced that your life is always one impossible crossing away. This is how most people live, waiting for permission from the other side. They tell themselves that happiness is there, that clarity is there, that victory is there. But the truth is startling in its simplicity. The crossing is not a matter of distance, it is a matter of posture. The river is not asking you to overpower it, it is asking you to listen. The moment you stop fighting with the image of difficulty, you discover that the river has always been teaching you a different way to move. Surrender to the water, and it carries you. Resist, and you will exhaust yourself. The irony is that what you call an obstacle is often the very thing designed to hold you up if only you would stop thrashing. Like a swimmer who panics and sinks, we drown in life not because the river is too strong, but because we refuse to relax enough to float. Your greatest effort is not more muscle, not more struggle, but the courage to soften. Understand this: surrender is not defeat. It is not throwing up your hands and saying, I quit. True surrender is alignment. It is the wisdom to release what you cannot control and to place your energy where it matters. When you release the obsession with outcomes, you begin to notice stepping stones that were always there, hidden beneath the surface. You begin to feel the current guiding you instead of imagining it as an enemy. Look closely at your life. How many times did you think you were stuck, only to realize later that you had options all along? How many doors were waiting for you to notice them, but you were too busy staring at the one that was locked? This is the teaching of the river. It does not yield to force, but it reveals itself to awareness. When you shift into this new way of being, the river is no longer a threat, it becomes a partner. And what once looked like a desperate battle turns into a graceful crossing. The other shore is not as far as you think, because in truth it was never somewhere else. The moment you stop fighting, you find yourself already halfway across. The river you think you must conquer is not an obstacle but a mirror. It reflects your inner state. If you bring fear, it will show you fear. If you bring trust, it will carry you in trust. The crossing is not won by force but by learning to meet life as it is, and once you do, you realize you were never truly separated from the other side. Silence is often misunderstood. People fear silence because they confuse it with emptiness. They assume that if nothing is happening on the surface, nothing meaningful exists beneath it. But silence is not emptiness. Silence is not the absence of something important. It is the space where the most important things reveal themselves. Calm is not void, it is presence, it is fullness, it is awareness, it is life without noise. Think about the times when the world feels overwhelming. Every voice is screaming for your attention. Social media shouts opinions. Your friends and family project expectations. The world measures you against its standards, and every commercial, every headline, every distraction fights for a piece of your focus. In that storm, truth rarely survives because truth doesn't compete with chaos. Truth doesn't scream. Truth doesn't beg, truth whispers. And if you never make room for silence, you'll never hear it. This is why silence is power. It's not the emptiness of doing nothing. It's the discipline of listening to what matters. It is the place where vision grows roots. It is where you begin to separate what you truly want from what the world tells you to want. Most people never do this. They live reacting, responding, running after the next demand. They never pause long enough to let the truth rise to the surface. Calmness is not weakness. Calmness is control. The person who can remain calm in chaos is the person who cannot be manipulated. When you master silence, you no longer need to shout to prove yourself. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. You don't need to beg the world for validation. The calm presence you carry becomes your strength, because in that stillness you are connected to something greater than noise. You are connected to clarity. Think of a lake. When the water is disturbed, when the surface is constantly rippling with movement, you can't see what lies beneath. The mud stirs, the vision blurs. But when the water settles, when calmness takes over, the lake becomes a mirror. You see clearly. Life works the same way. When you are restless, when your mind is filled with noise, your vision is distorted. You make rash decisions. You let fear and doubt control you. But when you cultivate silence, when you allow yourself moments of calm, you see things as they are. You recognize opportunities, you recognize truth. This is why great breakthroughs don't usually come in the middle of chaos. They come in silence. They come in the still hours when you're alone, when you step back, when the world isn't shouting at you. That's when the voice inside, the one that knows your potential, the one that sees the path, finally speaks. And that voice doesn't advertise, it doesn't rage, it doesn't force itself into your life. It waits for you to quiet the noise so it can be heard. But here's the challenge: silence takes courage. Most people avoid it because silence forces you to face yourself. When the noise is gone, when the distractions disappear, you are left alone with your thoughts, your fears, your unfulfilled dreams, and your unanswered questions. That's why people run from silence. They don't want to confront the truth that lives inside them. Yet, it is only by entering silence that you find the direction to change. Silence is not emptiness, it is alignment. It aligns your actions with your values. It aligns your effort with your vision. It aligns your inner world with the destiny you are chasing. Without it, you're scattered, chasing everything but finding nothing. With it, you become focused, unshaken, immovable. And understand this: calm is not passive. Calm is not sitting back while life passes by. Calm is active presence. Calm is knowing when to strike and when to wait. Calm is strength under control. Calm is fire that refuses to burn out of anger but saves its heat for purpose. The calm leader leads with confidence, not chaos. The calm warrior fights with precision, not panic. The calm dreamer builds with intention, not impulse. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, the next time you feel lost, don't look outward for answers. Look inward. Step into silence. Step into calm, not as an escape but as a return. Because in that stillness, truth speaks plainly. It won't shout, it won't rage. But if you are willing to listen, it will give you the clarity and strength you've been searching for all along. We live in a culture that glorifies effort. Work harder, push more, hustle longer. And there is truth in effort. Nothing worthwhile comes without it. But here's the reality most people miss: you can swing your hammer endlessly at the world. You can pound at the doors of opportunity. You can shout, grind, and struggle. But if the door inside remains closed, all that effort will exhaust you without moving you forward. The world has convinced us that progress is about conquering what's out there. Competition, obstacles, critics, doubters. But the real battleground is much closer, it's within. Until you do the work inside, the work outside will collapse. True work is not about pounding on the world. It's about opening the locked door within your own heart, your own mind, your own spirit. Think about it. How many people chase success, pouring themselves into business, into relationships, into projects, and yet, no matter how hard they try, they always end up back at the same place, burned out, unfulfilled, and confused. It's not because they lack effort. It's because they never stop to deal with the fears, the doubts, the insecurities, the old wounds that keep them chained. They think the enemy is outside, but the truth is, the biggest enemy is inside. You can win 1,000 external battles, but if you lose the one inside, it will all come crashing down. You can build wealth, but if inside you are ruled by insecurity, you will never feel rich. You can achieve recognition, but if inside you're hungry for validation, you'll always feel overlooked. You can gain power, but if inside you're controlled by fear, you'll always feel powerless. That's why inner work is everything. Until you face the doubts, the lies you tell yourself, the unresolved pain you carry, you'll keep hammering on the world without opening the only door that matters, the one within. That's the doorway to freedom, to clarity, to vision. The greatest breakthroughs do not begin with a new strategy. They begin with a new self. The greatest victories don't start on the battlefield. They start in the soul. History is full of examples. Leaders who built nations but crumbled because they never won the war within. Artists who changed culture but destroyed themselves because they never faced their own demons. Athletes who conquered championships but lost everything because they never healed the emptiness inside. And yet, on the other side, there are people who may not have had every advantage, but because they mastered themselves, because they did the inner work, they built lives of true success. Success that was sustainable, success that did not crumble under the weight of pressure. So, what does it mean to do the work within? It means being honest with yourself when it's easier to pretend. It means facing the truth about your fears instead of hiding behind excuses. It means sitting in silence, as we talked about before, until you can hear the voice inside that tells you who you are, instead of letting the noise of the world drown it out. It means breaking the chains of past wounds instead of letting them dictate your future. True work is self-mastery. It's building discipline where feelings want to take over. It's cultivating faith when doubt whispers in your ear. It's creating resilience when failure knocks you down. It's refusing to let the locked door inside remain closed. Because once that door opens, the world outside bends to meet it. You cannot fake inner strength. You cannot bypass it. You cannot buy it. You either face yourself and win, or you avoid yourself and lose. And that's why so many people spend their lives hammering away at the outside world, convinced that one more push, one more hustle, one more attempt will finally break through. But without inner work, it never lasts. You get the job, but you sabotage it. You get the relationship, but you can't keep it healthy. You get the chance, but you shrink back because of fear. The truth is, the door inside is the master key. Open it, and everything outside begins to align. Keep it closed, and all the external effort in the world won't matter. So let me ask you, what door inside of you is still locked? Is it the door of fear? The fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear of not being enough? Is it the door of anger, holding on to wounds from the past that poison your future? Is it the door of doubt, convincing you that no matter how hard you try, you'll never measure up? Whatever it is, know this: the hammer won't work on the world until it works on you. True work begins when you stop fighting the wrong battles and start fighting the right one, the one within. And when you win there, when you open that door, something extraordinary happens. You no longer fight the world with desperation. You engage it with clarity. You no longer work to prove yourself. You work to express yourself. You no longer hustle from insecurity. You build from strength. The energy shifts, the effort multiplies, the doors outside open because the door within has finally been unlocked. That is the real work. Not chasing, not pounding, not exhausting yourself in battles that never end. The real work is becoming the kind of person who cannot be stopped. Not by fear, not by doubt, not by the storms outside, because inside the door is open, the light is on, and the foundation is unshakable. We have been taught since childhood that strength means control. That to be powerful is to tighten your grip, to hold on, to dominate circumstances, to force outcomes into place with sheer determination. But here is the paradox that life reveals, a paradox few discover until they are broken enough to see it. Real strength is not in gripping tighter, but in releasing. Real power is not in forcing, but in surrendering. Surrender is often misunderstood. People hear the word and immediately think of weakness, of defeat, of giving up. But surrender is not about resignation. It is not about passivity. It is not about walking away from responsibility. No, surrender is the highest act of courage because it requires trust. It requires faith. It requires letting go of the illusion that you can control everything, and instead, aligning yourself with the deeper current of truth that already knows where to take you. Letting go is terrifying for most people, because control feels safe. If I can control the timing, the details, the outcome, then I can protect myself from disappointment. But what control really gives us is not safety. It gives us anxiety. It ties us in knots, exhausts us, and blinds us to possibilities greater than what we could ever force into being. Think about the ocean. You cannot control the waves. You cannot stop the tide from coming in or push it back when it rises. If you fight it, you will drown. If you resist it, it will exhaust you. But if you learn to surrender, if you learn to float, if you learn to trust the current, you discover a strength far greater than your own effort. You discover that the ocean carries you further than your frantic swimming ever could. Life works the same way. The more you try to dominate it, the more it resists. The more you fight against it, the more it fights back. But when you surrender, when you release the straining, the pushing, the desperate need to control, you open yourself to flow. You align yourself with clarity, with wisdom, with timing that is far more precise than anything you could orchestrate. This does not mean you stop working. This does not mean you stop showing up. It means you stop forcing. You stop strangling your dreams with desperation. You stop exhausting yourself with the belief that if you don't do everything, nothing will happen. Surrender says, I have done my part. Now I release the outcome into the hands of something larger than me. There is no act more courageous than that, because surrender means stepping into the unknown without fear. It means trusting that even if things don't unfold exactly as you imagined, they are unfolding exactly as they should. It means believing that the clarity you've been searching for isn't born from more noise, more struggle, more control. It's born from quiet, from release, from trust. The strongest people you'll ever meet are not the ones who control everything. They are the ones who know how to let go. They are the ones who can stand in chaos, yet not be shaken because they are rooted in surrender. They don't cling desperately to what must change, nor do they force themselves into paths that are not theirs. Instead, they flow like water, soft yet unstoppable. Consider the tree in a storm. The rigid tree, unwilling to bend, breaks. But the tree that yields, that surrenders to the wind without losing its roots, survives and stands tall after the storm passes. Which one is truly stronger, the one that resisted to its death, or the one that yielded and endured? The same is true for you. You may think holding on proves your strength, but sometimes letting go is the only way forward. Sometimes surrender is the only doorway to peace, the only bridge to transformation. How many times in your life have you tried to force something that wasn't meant to be? A relationship you tried to control, a career path you clung to even though it drained your spirit, a plan you obsessed over that never seemed to work no matter how hard you pushed. And yet, when you finally let go, when you finally surrendered, the right relationship appeared, the right door opened, the right timing revealed itself. Surrender is not failure, it is alignment. It is acknowledging that you are not the master of every detail, but you are connected to a wisdom that sees the whole picture. It is choosing to trust the process rather than forcing the outcome. And let me tell you why this is the strongest act, because it goes against everything your fear screams at you. Fear says, if you don't control this, it will fall apart. Faith says, if you release this, it will come together. Fear says, if you let go, you will lose. Faith says, if you let go, you will receive. Fear demands certainty. Faith thrives in trust. So when you surrender, you are not bowing to weakness. You are standing taller than fear. You are choosing courage over control, peace over panic, clarity over chaos. And that is strength in its purest form. There is a power that only arrives when you release your grip, a wisdom that only whispers when you quiet the noise of control, a clarity that only shines when you step back and let it do its work. That clarity is waiting for you now, but it cannot reach you while your fists are clenched. Open your hands. Release the outcome. Trust the process. That is surrender. That is strength. Every dream you carry, every intention you release, every act of faith you committed is a seed. And just like a seed planted in the soil, what you plant in the heart will grow, but not according to your timeline. It grows according to its own. One of the greatest mistakes we make is assuming that the moment we plant, the moment we pray, the moment we visualize, the moment we commit, the harvest should appear. We live in a culture addicted to speed. Fast food, fast success, fast results. But life's greatest truths, the kind that shape destiny, are never fast. They move at the speed of roots, not at the speed of demands. Think of an oak tree. The seed falls into the soil, disappears beneath the surface, and then nothing. At least that's what it looks like to the impatient eye. But beneath the surface, something extraordinary is happening. The seed is splitting, roots are reaching down, foundation is forming. If you stood above the soil, you might call it silence. You might call it failure. But underground, in the dark, strength is being built. Without that unseen process, the tree could never rise tall. So it is with your life. What you've planted in your heart, the vision, the calling, the breakthrough. It is not idle. It is not forgotten. It is speaking in time, in its own season. But if you expect immediate blossoms, if you demand to see fruit before roots, you will miss the miracle that is happening beneath the surface. Impatience blinds us. We plant a seed today and tomorrow we dig it up to see if it's growing. We pray for clarity and then panic when it doesn't arrive in an instant. We start a journey, then quit halfway because we don't see results fast enough. But faith is not measured by how long you're willing to wait. It's measured by your trust that what you planted is already alive, even if it's invisible. And here's the deeper truth: sometimes delay is not denial. Sometimes delay is protection. Sometimes the waiting is not punishment, it's preparation. If you were handed your dream too soon, you wouldn't be able to carry it. If you received the blessing before your roots were deep enough, the weight of it would topple you. The waiting isn't wasted. It's forming the unseen strength you'll need when the tree finally breaks the soil. Look back at your own life. How many times did you think nothing was happening, only to realize later that everything was happening? How many seasons felt silent, but turned out to be the very seasons that shaped your resilience, your wisdom, your perspective? You thought you were stuck, but you were rooted. You thought you were delayed, but you were being prepared. The seed speaks in time, and time cannot be rushed. You cannot yell at the soil and make the harvest appear. You cannot demand that the roots grow faster because you're impatient. Nature has its own rhythm, and your life does too. Your job is not to control the timing. It's to trust the process. This is why so many people give up just before breakthrough. They stop watering, they stop believing, they stop tending the soil because they mistake silence for death. They confuse invisibility with absence. They think, if I can't see it, it must not be working. But the truth is, if you can't see it, it may be working most. Because everything great begins in the unseen. Think about it. The child forms in the womb before it ever takes its first breath. The artist envisions the masterpiece before the brush ever touches the canvas. The architect designs the blueprint before a single brick is laid. The unseen always comes first, and the unseen always takes time. The seed is alive right now. Even in silence it is speaking. Even in waiting it is moving. And if you can learn to trust the timing, if you can stop demanding blossoms before roots, you will live in peace while the process unfolds. So ask yourself, what seeds have you planted that you're impatiently digging up? What prayers have you prayed that you've already doubted because they didn't come fast enough? What dreams have you abandoned because the fruit didn't show up on your schedule? Don't quit in the rooting season. Don't abandon what is growing simply because it hasn't surfaced yet. You are not forgotten. The seed is not dead. It's speaking in time, in its own language, in its own season. The hardest lesson is this: patience is not waiting while complaining. Patience is trusting while watering. It's showing up every day, tending the soil, nurturing the roots, believing that the unseen is just as real as the seen. Because one day, one ordinary day, you'll wake up and see a sprout breaking through the soil, and that moment will remind you why the silence mattered, why the waiting was worth it. The seed is faithful, the harvest is certain. But you must allow it to speak in time. Do not rush it. Do not abandon it. Do not demand that it obey your clock. Life has its own timing, and that timing is perfect. So let this truth anchor you: just because you cannot see growth does not mean it isn't happening. Just because you don't see blossoms does not mean roots are not forming. Just because the soil looks silent does not mean it is empty. The seed is alive, the seed is working, the seed is speaking, and in its time, it will reveal everything you've been waiting for. We live in a world obsessed with names, categories, and definitions. The moment something appears before us, our minds rush to stamp it with a label: success, failure, good, bad, beautiful, ugly. And with that single label, the mystery is gone, the depth is erased, and the truth is reduced to a flat description. But reality is never that simple. The moment you name a sunset as beautiful, you've already stopped seeing it. The moment you call a person difficult, you've blinded yourself to the layers of pain, history, and complexity that make them who they are. The moment you label an event in your life as failure, you shut down your ability to notice the lessons, the hidden doorways, the seeds of strength being planted. Labels kill experience. They shrink the infinite into something we think we can control. But true power comes not from naming, but from seeing. Seeing means allowing something to stand before you without immediately reducing it. Seeing means experiencing life directly, not through filters, not through categories, not through the lazy shortcuts of language. Think about it. A child doesn't rush to name everything. They stare, they marvel, they absorb. To them, the world is not a list of labels, but an ocean of wonder. And because they truly see, they notice what adults overlook. They notice the way light bends across water, the way silence has a sound, the way a simple flower holds eternity in its design. You and I lose that vision when we cling too tightly to names, and when we lose that vision, we lose truth. Consider how this plays out in your own life. You meet someone new and your mind races: successful, attractive, arrogant, humble. But what if you didn't name? What if you just saw? You would notice details you never would have caught: their hesitation, the hope in their eyes, the story hidden beneath their words. You would actually connect instead of judging, or imagine your own struggles. The moment something doesn't go your way, you name it: disaster, failure, punishment. But what if instead of naming, you simply saw? You might notice that the setback is shaping resilience, that the delay is teaching patience, that the loss is creating space for something greater. Naming is closure. Seeing is expansion. This is why some of the greatest breakthroughs in life happen when you step back, breathe, and allow yourself to see without judgment. In that moment, truth reveals itself. You don't have to force it, you don't have to explain it, you just witness it. And in that witnessing, clarity comes. So stop rushing to name everything. Stop suffocating your experiences with labels. Let things live, let people reveal themselves, let moments unfold. When you do, you'll find that life has far more depth, beauty, and wisdom than you ever imagined. Because the truth doesn't shout through labels. It whispers through pure seeing. Life is always speaking to you, not in grand, thunderous announcements, but in the quiet reflections of your daily experience. Every frustration, every joy, every delay, every victory, they are all mirrors showing you who you are long before they try to teach you anything. The mistake most people make is thinking life is random. They imagine circumstances are scattered accidents unconnected to their own inner state. But life is precise. It reflects back what you carry inside. If you carry fear, you will see it mirrored in hesitation, in missed opportunities, in relationships built on insecurity. If you carry gratitude, you will see it mirrored in abundance, in unexpected kindness, in opportunities that multiply. Life does not lie. The world around you is your reflection. Think about the last time you were in a rush. Traffic seemed worse, people seemed slower, time itself felt like it was fighting against you. Was the world really different that day, or was it your inner state projecting onto everything you saw? Now think of the last time you were calm, centered, unshaken. Even when challenges appeared, they felt manageable. Solutions came faster. Life reflected back the peace you carried within. The mirror of everyday life is faithful. It does not exaggerate. It does not distort. It simply reveals. But most of us look into the mirror and get angry at the reflection instead of adjusting ourselves. We complain about people, about circumstances, about opportunities that never arrive. Yet if we shifted our state, our mindset, our heart, our attitude, the reflection would change automatically. It's like standing before a mirror with a frown. You don't fix the reflection by forcing the glass to smile. You fix it by shifting your own face. Life works the same way. The world will not soften until you soften. The world will not open until you open. The world will not brighten until you choose light within yourself. This is why the small, ordinary moments are so important. They reveal your truth more clearly than the big events. How do you respond when someone cuts you off in traffic? When plans fall apart? When someone doesn't treat you the way you hoped? Those moments are mirrors showing you your level of patience, your ability to forgive, your inner strength. And if you pay attention, they become opportunities. Because life doesn't first punish and then teach. It first reflects and then it waits for you to learn. Every repeated frustration, every cycle you find yourself stuck in is a reflection waiting for recognition. The universe is not cruel, it is consistent. It will keep showing you the same patterns until you finally see the mirror and adjust. So the question is not, why is life doing this to me? The real question is, what is life showing me about myself right now? When you begin to ask that question, the mirror becomes a teacher. It no longer just reflects, it guides. And the beauty is this: the more you transform within, the more the world transforms without. What you once saw as resistance becomes flow. What you once saw as lack becomes possibility. What you once saw as chaos becomes clarity. Not because life has changed, but because you have remembered. Every day, every moment, life holds up a mirror. Don't turn away. Don't blame the reflection. Look deeply, adjust honestly, and watch how the world shifts to match the truth you choose to live. Desire is powerful. It can drive you, push you, ignite ambition. But left unchecked, desire becomes heavy. A weight that bends your spirit, sharpens the world into harsh edges, and blinds you to the peace already within reach. Think about the moments you've wanted something so badly. Approval, success, recognition, love, wealth. At first, the wanting feels like fuel. But slowly it begins to consume. Every delay feels unbearable. Every obstacle feels personal. Every comparison feels like a wound. The sharper your wanting, the harsher the world appears. This is why so many people chase endlessly yet never arrive. They mistake longing for living. They believe the next achievement, the next purchase, the next milestone will finally soften the edges of life. But when they get there, the wanting remains. It shifts shape, attaches to something new, and the wait continues. Desire becomes a treadmill, always running, never arriving. When wanting softens, everything changes. The sharp edges of the world blur into ease. You still have goals, you still take action, you still build, but now from a place of wholeness, not lack. Instead of chasing to fill a void, you create because you are full. Instead of demanding from life, you partner with it. Imagine standing in front of a sunset. If your heart is full of wanting, to capture it, to post it, to prove you were there, you miss the actual beauty. But if the wanting softens, you can simply see. The colors sink into your soul. The moment becomes alive, the same sunset. Two different experiences, one heavy, one light. This is the secret. Most never learn. Peace is not the absence of desire, but the softening of it. Wanting with rigidity breaks you. Wanting with openness strengthens you. A clenched fist cannot receive. An open hand can hold the world. Life moves more easily when you stop pressing it with desperate desire. When you trust the timing, trust the process, trust that what is meant for you will not pass you by. The world unfolds with grace. Doors open without you pounding on them. People show up without you forcing their presence. Opportunities align not from strain, but from flow. The weight of wanting is unnecessary. It is self-imposed. The moment you allow it to soften, you discover that life already carries a rhythm designed to bring you what you need when you need it. Your task is not to squeeze the world into your timeline, but to align yourself so that you can recognize and receive what is already on its way. So breathe, loosen your grip, let wanting soften. When you do, the sharp edges will fade and life will return to its natural ease, not a battlefield of struggle, but a river that knows exactly how to carry you forward. In life, action is not the problem. We all act, we all move, we all make choices. The real question is, from where does that action come? Because action born from panic does not solve problems, it multiplies them. But action born from clarity has the power to dissolve obstacles that once felt impossible. Think about the last time you panicked. Maybe it was a deadline closing in, an unexpected crisis, a relationship spiraling. Your heart raced, your thoughts scattered, your hands moved faster than your mind could follow. In panic, we mistake movement for progress. We rush, we grasp, we throw ourselves at the problem, believing that sheer force will save us. But what usually happens, we create new mistakes, new fires, new layers of chaos. Panic does not clear the path, it tangles it even more. Now contrast that with a moment of clarity. When you step back, breathe, and let your mind settle, the situation shifts. What once looked like a wall begins to reveal cracks. What once felt like chaos arranges itself into patterns. From clarity, a single decision, a single step can do what hours of frantic effort could not. Clarity cuts through complexity. This is why the most effective leaders, thinkers, and creators cultivate calm in the midst of storms. It's not because they don't feel pressure. It's because they refuse to let pressure dictate their choices. They know that the mind in panic sees only obstacles, but the mind in clarity sees openings. Action from panic is reactive. It is driven by fear. It is the survival brain lashing out, trying to escape, but action from clarity is intentional. It is guided by vision. It moves not from desperation but from alignment, and that difference determines whether you spiral deeper or rise higher. The truth is, panic is seductive. It makes you feel alive. It convinces you that frantic energy is necessary. But real strength is the ability to pause in the middle of urgency, to breathe when everything in you screams to rush, to listen for the deeper wisdom beneath the noise. That pause is not weakness. It is mastery. Clarity is not the absence of action. It is the foundation of right action. When you act from clarity, your energy is focused. Your steps are fewer but sharper. Your decisions carry weight because they come from stillness, not confusion. So when life presses hard against you, resist the urge to panic. Step back, breathe. Find the center that panic tries to hide from you. From that place, choose your action, and you will discover that problems that once looked overwhelming can dissolve, not because you did more, but because you finally acted from clarity. We speak often about compassion, about giving, serving, lifting others when they are weak. But the truth that so many forget is this: compassion begins at home. And the first home you will ever live in is yourself. If you cannot show kindness to your own being, every act of kindness to others will carry a tremor, a hidden fracture. The heart that is not held will always shake when it tries to hold someone else. Think about how you speak to yourself. The words no one else hears, the private dialogue in your head. Is it gentle or is it cruel? Do you give yourself the patience you would give a friend? Or do you demand perfection, punish mistakes, and dismiss your own needs as unworthy? Many people live as their own harshest critics, believing that self-compassion is weakness, a kind of indulgence. But here is the truth: without self-compassion, strength cannot last. Imagine pouring water in every cup around you but never refilling your own. Eventually, the pitcher runs dry. And when it does, your giving is not generosity anymore. It is sacrifice that leaves you hollow. True compassion, the kind that changes lives, comes from overflow, not depletion. To give freely, you must first receive freely from yourself. Self-compassion is not about avoiding growth or lowering standards. It is about creating the conditions where growth becomes sustainable. A plant does not thrive because you scold it for not blooming faster. It thrives because you give it soil, water, light, and time. In the same way, your soul blooms not when you berate it, but when you nurture it. When you hold your own heart with kindness, you stop needing the world's approval to feel worthy. You stop pouring from emptiness. You begin to give because you are full, not because you are desperate to be enough. And the quality of your kindness changes. It no longer trembles. It no longer hides resentment beneath its smile. It becomes steady, calm, and true. Think of the times you were most deeply touched by someone's kindness. Chances are it wasn't because they sacrificed everything to give it to you. It was because their presence carried peace, stability, a grounded warmth that reassured you. That kind of presence is born only from a heart that has first learned to turn compassion inward. So here is the challenge: before you rush to fix, to serve, to give, pause. Ask yourself, have I held my own heart today? Have I spoken to myself as I would to someone I love? Because if you cannot begin there, your giving will always shake. But if you can, then your hands will steady, your voice will soften, and your compassion will carry the weight of truth. The first kindness you owe is to yourself. And when that debt is paid, you will find you have an endless reserve to give to the world. So many people wait for life to announce itself with fanfare, expecting trumpet blasts, lightning bolts, or unmistakable signs that shout, "This is it! This is the moment." But reality speaks in a different tone. The universe does not waste energy on noise. It whispers, it nudges, it leaves small but undeniable confirmations, signals so subtle they can only be noticed by a heart that is awake. Think about the quiet ways truth has already brushed past you. A stranger's words echoing exactly what you needed to hear. A sudden calm washing over you in the middle of chaos. A door closing that seemed painful at first, only to protect you from a path that was never meant for you. These are not accidents, they are confirmations. The universe rarely delivers its wisdom with fireworks. It delivers it with precision. The problem is not that signs don't exist. The problem is that we are too loud, too distracted, too restless to hear them. Panic blinds us. Desire blinds us. We demand certainty in flashing neon, and when it doesn't arrive, we assume nothing is happening. But in truth, life has been quietly affirming your path all along. The small victories, the coincidences, the moments of alignment, these are confirmations that your energy is already shaping reality. They are whispers saying, keep going. You are on the right frequency. If you train your awareness to notice them, you will see that life is in constant conversation with you. Every obstacle carries a message. Every blessing carries proof. But you must learn to read the script written in silence. When you stop demanding loud confirmations, the quiet ones come alive. You begin to see the subtle choreography in events. You start to recognize that the people you meet, the opportunities that arise, even the delays you endure, are not random but precise replies to the vibration you carry. The universe is not ignoring you. It is speaking in its own language, a language of timing, alignment, and quiet resonance. The truth is, the most powerful confirmations don't need to shout. They don't need spectacle. They strike you with a calm certainty, that deep knowing in your chest that no argument can shake. That is how the universe works, not in drama but in clarity. Not in chaos, but in order so subtle that only the present attentive mind can see it. So here is the shift: stop waiting for life to scream at you. Start listening for the whispers. Look for the small confirmations that carry enormous weight. The alignment of timing, the synchronicity of words, the inner peace that arrives when you choose the right path. These are not coincidences. They are the universe nodding in your direction. Learn to read them, trust them, and you will never again doubt whether you are being guided, because you will realize you always have been. All the practices, all the insights, all the whispers of truth lead here, to the center. Not the frantic edge of striving, not the restless chase of wanting. The center, that steady place within you that does not rise and fall with circumstance, that does not tremble with every wave of uncertainty. To live from the center is to finally return home. What is the center? It is not a place you can point to on a map. It is not found in possessions, titles, or victories. The center is the still point of your being, the quiet core that remains untouched by chaos. It is the flame that doesn't flicker when the storm rages. It is the knowing that does not need proof. When you live from the center, life flows with you instead of against you. Most people live at the edges. They are pulled outward by fear, by craving, by distraction. They cling to outcomes, they chase validation. They react to every shift in the world around them, forgetting that stability cannot be found at the surface of the storm. Stability exists only at the eye of the storm, the center. Returning to the center does not mean abandoning action or withdrawing from life. It means carrying into every action a calm foundation, a deep presence that nothing can uproot. From the center, your words carry more weight. Your choices cut through confusion. Your steps feel guided, not frantic. Living from the center does not shrink your life, it amplifies it with clarity. The center is where wisdom speaks. It does not shout, it does not argue, it whispers in calm certainty, this is the way. But to hear it, you must return to it again and again, through stillness, through breath, through letting go of the noise that pulls you outward. Living from the center is the final practice because it is also the first. It is where you began before the world layered on fear, distraction, and noise. And it is where you must return if you want a life of alignment, not exhaustion. When you live from the center, you no longer beg the universe for signs. You recognize that life itself becomes your sign. Everything reflects the steadiness you carry inside. This is not philosophy, it is practice. Each time the world tries to drag you into panic, you choose to return. Each time desire presses sharp edges into your heart, you soften back into the center. Each time fear tells you to rush, you breathe and remember clarity is here, not out there. The final practice is not about adding more. It is about coming back to what was always within you. The steady flame, the quiet power, the unshakable center. From there, life flows. From there, you do not chase peace, you live it. And when you live from the center, nothing outside can take that peace away.